Kate Hudson, General Secretary of CND.
I'd like, on behalf of CND, to pay tribute to the work of the Stop the War Coalition over the last 10 years, in particular to Lindsay, to Andrew, to Chris, to John, and of course to all the team in London, but of course to all the Stop the War branches and groups throughout the country. Your achievement has been absolutely remarkable, and it's been a real privilege to work together with you. Thank you. The images that I have of 10 years ago, February the 15th, will be with me for as long as I live. And I'm sure it's the same for all of us. That sheer sense of all humanity being there together for peace, that massive cross-section of society mobilised. And truly on that day, we were, as they said in the New York Times, the second superpower. And it was truly a global mobilisation. Maybe 35 million, maybe more. It's impossible to know the actual scale of it. It was the product of global rage. It was the product of global opposition to war, yes. But it was also the result of a deeper politicisation that had been in process before 9/11, before George Bush's so-called war on terror, because it built upon the radicalisation of the anti-globalisation movement, on those incredible mobilisations at Seattle and Genoa and other places across the world. And when we here on our anti-war demonstrations chanted, "This is what democracy looks like," we were taking that slogan, sharing that slogan from those anti-globalisation protesters who were mobilised also in their hundreds of thousands. And for many of us, neoliberalism and war were two sides of the same coin of imperialism. They were truly inextricably linked. Because we'd seen structural adjustment policies destroying African economies and societies and other parts of the world from the 1970s onwards, and the protests that the people of those countries struggled to develop and to try to win. And we'd seen the same economic attacks taking place in our own country during the 1980s in the form of Thatcherism and monetarism, and we'd seen that gather pace in Europe after 1989 as the United States sought to impose free market policies across the globe, privatisation, smashing of the welfare states, deregulation of society. And for those countries that refused to comply with those economic policy prescriptions, we know the US chose war instead. If you think of the axis of evil, Iraq, Iran, North Korea, you see what non-compliance with US economic policies was to mean. And to Britain's eternal shame, Tony Blair fought that war lock, stock and barrel. Now, those links were well understood in the developing anti-war movement, and also in the global arenas of the World Social Forum, which was so crucial to the development of our movement. Indeed, the International Anti-War Coordination was born at the European Social Forum in Florence in November of 2002, and that was where the call came for the Global Day of Action on February the 15th, and I well remember Chris Ninan's role in fighting for that historic decision to be made. Now, 50,000 people attended that conference in Florence, and many of you may have been there too. And a million people marched through the freezing streets of Florence, through those beautiful streets. And it seemed at the time that every block was adorned with those rainbow Italian peace flags, and people in their blocks of flats had hung out white sheets in solidarity with our movement. It was quite extraordinary. I'm sure we all have memories of that time, many memories. But today, of course, is a different moment. In many ways, the context has changed. The ideological clarity of the bloody project of Bush and Blair is gone, and in no small part, I think, due to our movement, a result of our work and campaigning over the years. US imperialism, I would argue, is on the back foot. Their chief ally in Egypt is gone. Their economy is weakened. But of course they are finding new ways to pursue their project. They're not defeating. They are finding new ways. Their actions and rhetoric are modified. Their allies in Britain and France play a greater role in their newfound so-called humanitarian and democratic clothes. So the challenge for us today is to renew our movement, to regain our political and analytical clarity over all these issues, to rebuild our international links to help us to meet these changing challenges. One thing I'm absolutely certain about is that the solution to the economic crisis that we face, the solution to the wars that we face, those same two sides of the coin of imperialism, will not be found on a purely national basis alone. International cooperation, international solidarity was the key 10 years ago, and it remains the key to our work today. Thank you.